Hello. Good morning, good afternoon. I hope you guys had a good week, productive and healthy and blessed week. This is Attorney Claudine Umuhire Gasana here in Houston, Texas. Today, I want to speak about a program that a lot of people have requested me to explore, which is the Canada Immigration or Immigrant Express Entry. So my team and I have prepared this PowerPoint presentation that I want us to go through together. So there are three options to immigrate in Canada. So when we talk about immigrate, means to have access to permanent residency and later, become a citizen of Canada. So who can immigrate to Canada? Who can use the express entry, the skilled worker express entry program? Do you have to be in Canada? Do you have to be outside of Canada? Immigrant express entry. Okay. So my team and I have prepared this PowerPoint presentation that I want us to go through together. So there are three options. Okay. Right. Sorry, I am on Zoom, but live streaming on YouTube. So this is what happens when we're doing live. So let's explore this Canada Express entry for skilled workers. Do you have to be in Canada? Do you have to be in the outside of Canada? Let's find out together. So you make sure you stay around, you share with your friends. I get so many emails, people asking me, I would like to immigrate to Canada or US. How can I do it? This is one of the options that actually is available, and most people don't speak about it, or those who do, they don't share as much. So I was really interested in discovering and understanding this process so I can share with you. So subscribe, share, comment, like, and let's go. Okay, so now let me share my screen. I always like to share my screen so that in the end you can go back and watch little by little, step by step. My assistant did a very good job at putting together, the lines, the important lines or bullet points that you need to follow. And should you need any assistance, should you need any further help, we leave our contact information so you can contact us for a consultation, for additional, to see whether you qualify or not. Okay, all right, let's go. Okay, here it is. It's share. And again, stay here with me. Don't be. Okay. No. Okay. So let's go. Next slide. Next slide. All right. So there are three options. Three options to immigrate through this program, right? The Express Entry Program. So there's one option for Canadian Experience Class. The second option is for Federal Skilled Worker Program. The third option is for Federal Skilled Trade Program. So all of these are different types of options. So we're gonna go by option one first. So the first class of the Canadian Experience Class is option number one. So who qualifies, right? So what are the minimum qualifications? So this one, you have to have a Canadian experience. So you need to be in Canada to have that type of, to qualify under this option, or you have to have worked, 3 years of work experience, one of which must be in Canada. So you have to have worked in Canada, and you have to have done a full-time job in Canada. A full-time job is 30 hours. And one important, thing to know is that you have to have worked in Canada for 1 year under temporary resident status. That means that if you do any volunteer work, unpaid internship, self-employment, or a refugee claimant, like an asylum seeker, you do not qualify. That 1 year does not qualify. You have to have temporary resident status. And, you know, usually, so that's something maybe we can explore later, who qualifies under temporary resident status, okay? So the next thing is, let's go to next slide. So then there's education. You have to have some type of education. You obviously, if you went to Canada, you have your diploma, you have your high school diploma or degree, or if you have a foreign education, there's a way to obtain an educational credential assessment. And they require language ability. You know, in Canada, they speak 2 languages, French and English, but later for French speaking, we will talk about the particular French program system. So for, you know, for those who live in the province of Quebec, all right? So the test, so there's a test, there are different tests they take, and there's a benchmark, you know, so you have to take that test. And once you take the language test, it's valid for 2 years. So now let's go to the second option. The second option is the federal skilled worker option. This apply for skilled worker who have experience or education, right? So you have to have worked under one of the national occupational classification, NOC tier categories, right? So you have to have done, again, a full-time. So this could be a student work experience may count. So those who are there as students on a student visa, I think this I've heard a lot of people qualify under this one. The student work experience count towards the minimum requirement. So, and then again, there's an English or French test. You have to take that test. There's a minimum qualification, and the test results are valid for 2 years. Okay. So, what type of education do you have to have under the federal skilled worker program, which is the option number 2? So, if you went to Canada, of course you have your diploma. You go to, you know, most people go to Canada after they have finished their high school. They go for their undergraduate or graduate programs. So, you know, if you go to Canada as a student, then you study your bachelor's degree or even your associate degree. There is an option for you to obtain this skilled worker green card or resident. I don't think they call it green card in Canada. So you have to take this test of English and French, or French, you know, depending on where you live. If you are in the Quebec area, again, you have to take the French. You have to know French. And, you know, in my experience, people, because French is not spoken in so many countries, so they have more open spots in Quebec. So if you know French, that's an advantage. And if you are bilingual, that's even a better option. You know, you have more chances of being selected, because they do by points. You know, they rate you, or they select by points that you meet. Okay. So yeah, and you get to read all of this. Again, you know, that's why you do this PowerPoint presentation. I don't want to stay here longer than I should. Okay, let's see what else. And I hope I'm being, let me check, by the way, let me check this technology thing. Sometimes I may not be live on YouTube. Let me see. Stay with me, guys. Be sharing, even if you have questions, please don't hesitate to ask me questions. Oh yeah, I'm still here. All right, I see one person watching, so keep watching and share, please. All right, so now we go to the to number 3. Again, here we are speaking on the Canadian immigrant express entry program that has 3 options. Option number 1 is for people who are in Canada, and if you have some type of work, they have temporary resident status, and once they have completed 3 years, or at least they're 1 year in Canada, and they have to prove 2 more years of experience with education, they are able to obtain a permanent residency in Canada. There are some language requirements. The second one is for federal skilled workers. You have to, this one is not limited as the first one, because if you are a student, and you're working there or you're studying there, the experience you have used as a student counts towards the time, the years of experience. Again, there's this, there's this, it's not all the categories of job. You have to look under the Canadian National Occupation Classification. So they have they have a list of skills they are seeking. So you have to go under that one. So, and then the third category is this we are speaking about right now, which is the Federal Skilled Trades Program. So, we need to look at those keywords, skilled workers, skilled trades. So a trade, this does not require to have a degree, does not require to have education. So you have to look under these groups of trades classifications under the Canadian National Occupational Classification, and to see if you have you have experience or you have skills, like, maybe some type of training, and then go back, some type of training in technical, transportation, and controllers, transportation officers, natural supervisor in natural resources, all of these, these groups here, we chefs, cooks, all these you are eligible under this third option. So you must show that you performed the duties set out in these categories, and you have to show that your work experience meets the description. So this is where I believe, if you're working with an attorney or someone who's helping you, you have to know how to get your letters of experience, because you have to get the letters of experience. They have to make sure your work, your experience, or your job description matches the description in these categories under the NOC classification list. Okay, let's see. What's next? Education. Again, there's no education requirement under the skilled trades. So, but again, when you have education, it's better. You have more chances. And under all of these 3 programs, by the way, you have to have proof of funds. So it's not, you have to be able to show that become a liability, become a public charge. You're not going to Canada to depend on the federal government. Instead, you have enough money to support yourself until you settle, unless you already have a job. Like you saw we saw some of these categories. You could be already in Canada working under some type of temporary residency status, or as a student in the second option, or here in the option number 3, you are currently working legally. So keep in mind the option number 1 does not accept any type of employment, right? It only accepts those who are under temporary resident status. So it's kind of restricted. But option 2 and 3, you could be as long as you are legally working, the work experience will qualify under these 2. So if you're already in Canada and you're working, you don't have to show funds, right? But if you are not working, but you have a job offer from an employer in Canada, you don't have to show proof of funds. But if you are applying, saying, I meet these requirements under all of these 3, I meet these requirements, but in addition, I will not be a burden to the Canadian government. So in proof of funds, sometimes you can show funds in your bank account, or you can have a sponsor, which could be a Canadian resident or a Canadian citizen. So or just have a job offer. Let's see what we got. All right, this is just it's like a summary how you can check your application. So you could check if you qualify before you even start the whole thing. They have on their website, they have a way, and under the comments or the description later, I will leave a link to the Canadian Express Entry website. It's so that this is very important, because some people, as usual, may come and scam you. I want you to be able to go to the source, under the Canadian government website, or, if you reach out to our office or any other attorney you feeling comfortable working with, but who knows what they're doing, instead of this, people want to scam you into doing this. So these are the steps for number one, step number two. Yeah, so you go in and create an account, and then you check your assessment. There's a way to check if you qualify. So the second one is a point-based, like I was saying, and then you assess your score. Let's see, and then you get an invitation. After you do all of this, you get an invitation to apply. All right. So now the francophone. All right, so comme je le disais, maintenant I'm going to speak in French. Et donc, ceux qui sont francophones, ils sont vraiment invités à appliquer ou à soumettre ou déposer leur candidature, parce que même en dehors du Québec, si vous êtes bilingue, c'est plus facile, vous avez plus de chances de réussir dans ce programme. Donc, il y a aussi, vous pouvez créer votre compte. Si vous pouvez créer votre compte dans toutes les provinces pour que vous puissiez tenter les chances, même si vous n'êtes pas anglophone. Donc, comme je le disais, vous devez montrer que vous avez une, donc comment on dit là, vous parlez anglais ou français d'une façon proficiency, je ne sais pas comment dire, mais il faut choisir la première langue dont vous êtes plus affluent, donc vous parlez plus, ça va vous donner plus de chance. Mais aussi, je pense que le Québec, particulièrement, a un programme pour les francophones. Je vais lister le lien pour accéder à ce programme, et aussi je vous invite à considérer cet Express Entry, parce que ça invite tout le monde. Mais maintenant aussi, ils sont en train d'attirer, donc ils ont besoin de gens qui parlent français, même en dehors du Québec. All right, that's it. I think that's it, right? Okay. All right, so, ça continue ici sur cette slide, comment on dit, donc si vous parlez beaucoup, donc ça dépend de résultats que vous montrez dans les deux langues. Ça vous donne plus de points si vous parlez de français, donc 25 points de plus, 50 points de plus. Donc, si vous parlez plus anglais ou moins d'anglais, donc il y a aussi, donc j'ai donné aussi un site là où vous pouvez consulter pour l'expérience francophone de Canada. OK, enough with the French now. J'aime bien le français, mais comme je parle beaucoup anglais, ça commence à partir. Yes, so here I want to finish here, I think. Again, let me go back to the first slide. Oops, what is it? Okay, first one. Yes, so let me go back to the first slide. So as I was saying, this is let me go back. This is the express entry to immigrate in Canada, right? So there's a Canadian experience class. So for skilled workers who have Canadian work experience and want to become permanent resident, okay? And they have to have gained 3 years before they apply. Federal skilled workers program for skilled workers with foreign experience who want to immigrate to Canada, they must meet educational requirement and other factors, including language. All of them, they have to meet the language requirement. And they have the federal skilled trade program. This one is particular because it does not require any type of education. Like a traditional education. It requires you to have a trade, and there's a list of trades qualifications or programs that are being sought out in Canada, and you have a valid job offer, or you are already working in Canada. And again, in the end, I said for those who speak French, they have actually more chances, added points, even outside of Quebec. So again, this is Claudine Gassana. Let me stop sharing. I know this is not US immigration, but hey, we work with so many other areas, like, it's called global migration or global immigration. So, and I've had people asking me about this. So that's why I wanted to talk about it and explore a little bit. And of course, as usual, if you have more questions, do not hesitate to contact our office. Thank you. I wish you a pleasant weekend. And yeah.